Hello, hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel, and today we are doing a full face minus my base of Linda Hallberg, and I am so excited to talk about LH Cosmetics. I am going to dive deep. We're gonna do pricing, swatches, all that fun stuff. So if that sounds good to you, I hope you'll stick around, hang out, keep watching, and let's dive into some background on the brand. All right, so while I apply my foundation and concealer and powder to get ready for these other beautiful products, I thought we could talk about what LH Cosmetics is, if you haven't heard of it, and also my history with wanting to try this brand for quite a while now. We're also working with Natural Light today. Let me know. And usher into the chat not only Frank, but I have a full-length mirror now for fashion videos, so very exciting. Anyway, so LH Cosmetics was founded by Linda Hallberg, the professional makeup artist, and I wanted to, she obviously, let me back up, she has quite a large footprint on social media also as kind of almost an influencer, but from a very makeup artistry focused standpoint. Her videos are so fun. Her style is just very inspiring, and how she approaches makeup, which is the thing that I wanted to comment on the About Us page on their website, which I'm looking at. It says people were using lipsticks as lipsticks and eyeshadows as eyeshadows, and we're on a mission to change that, to develop to a multi-use brand where the colors are only colors and all colors. We are bound to no rules, and neither should you. We want you to be able to use your creativity and play around with colors without being restrained. We love to play, but make no mistake, we're dead serious about makeup and never compromise on quality. A makeup artist never will. All the products are vegan and have never been tested on animals. So I wanted to share that because we have since seen a couple other brands approach makeup the same way. The first one that's top of mind is Danessa Myricks, and Linda Hallberg, or LH Cosmetics, I need to start saying that. LH Cosmetics has been around for quite a few years, because I remember when she came out with her first, and if I can find photos I will, Metallic Mysteries palette. I wanted it so bad. And she then came out with Metallics Mysteries 2, which to me just like screams Christmas metallics. I think that one is still on her website. But I never pulled the trigger because I didn't know about the brand. The people that I was watching at the time weren't really talking about the brand. I was just nervous to invest because some of her products, especially the eyeshadow palettes, can be a little spendy, but it kind of dropped off my wish list for a long time. It was there for a while, it kind of dropped off my wish list, and then recently Khaki, no shock there, did a video on this brand, and where she really sold me, because I had already started looking very closely at the Shimmer Saga palette, which is essentially multi-chrome toppers. She mentioned that the eyeliners were very similar, if not better, than Victoria Beckham Beauty. And you know, if you are not new here, Victoria Beckham Beauty eyeliners, the Satin Kajal eyeliners, those are my very favorite of all time. Can't ever get me off that train. So I was very intrigued because they are less expensive than the Victoria Beckham, and at the time that I purchased had a lot more shade variety of shades that I was very interested in. Now I will note there was no purple, and I think LH Cosmetics needs a purple. But nonetheless, there were a lot of colors, and that's where I was very excited. So now that I have my base on, let's talk through some of the products that we're going to be looking at today. I have the Infinity Glam palette because this just screamed fall to me, which again, the pan size is perfect if you want to be using this for face and eyes. Then I had to pick up the Shimmer Saga. You know I love duochromes, multi-chromes here on my channel, and these are very pretty. I also picked up two of her Fantastic products, which we'll get into. Very excited about those. I also grabbed a Latex Fever liquid lipstick, which can't wait to talk through that, and then really dove in on the pencils because I love pencils. Pencils, markers, that's what I love the most in makeup and in art. So we're going to dive into all of these. So I will come back to you with a little bit of powder and brows on. All right. So I've got my brows and a little bit of powder on. I did set this down a little bit because I am wearing my Chantecaille and Kosas, and those are both kind of dewy, stickier products. So we are going to attempt to do my bronzer and blush with the Infinity palette. And I say that because I packed this on my trip to Yellowstone, and I think we are going to review what I packed because all of it together, I don't know what I was thinking when I was packing, essentially, and I don't think that these powders necessarily agreed with the other formulas that I had at the time. I think it was a combination, honestly, of my base products and the brushes, so I'm going to try a different tactic here today. And I'm going to try to use Flare right here as my bronzer, which I'm slightly nervous about. I'm actually going to take it on a duo fiber brush because of that. This is an old MAC 157. The lettering is wearing off because, again, some of my MAC brushes are a decade, if not a little more than a decade old. So I'm just going to load the brush up with a little bit. I'm not going to load it, just a little bit, and I'm going to buff that. And yeah, already I like this more than I did on my trip. You guys, that makeup and skincare was a disaster. And I apologize, my husband is showering while I'm trying to film. Hopefully the directional mic is not picking that up. If it is, I'm going to cry because it's been so hard to like motivate myself to sit down and film. I'm like struggling with allergies, as you can hear, and also just the malaise of season change bringing everybody into a rough place, you know. I'm not immune. And my fatigue from hormones is just really dragging me down. So I'm praying that you can't hear that. After I apply this, I'm going to check, and if so, we'll pause. But I love this so much more with this brush and with a dry base. And what I mean by dry is that it's been set down and it's not tacky, because I think these will grab if you have a tacky base. But yeah, even that color, very natural. Today we're going for very like pumpkin spice. I'm gonna go check the audio really quick. I know you could absolutely hear that. I just watched it back. Is what it is. Moving on. I am going to add some blush, and I kind of want to start with a little bit of Day here. You can tell I haven't filmed in a while because the ums are driving me insane. I'm actually going to go in with the Thrive Causemetics bronzer brush, which is a nice angled dense brush, which could be a mistake, but I'm going to lightly tap that, and it picks up quite a lot. So I'm going to tap that off, and I'm just going to add a little bit here because I do want to go for, again, that like pumpkin spice. And I'm going very, very lightly, but I think I like that. Very nice. These are doing so much better than with what I packed, and it is 1000% the brushes that you use and having that set base. And then I want to touch into this Zenith a little bit, and then we're going to top with a shimmer, I think. I actually might go back into the MAC Duo Fiber and grab a little bit of Zenith on that, because I did like how that dispersed product, and just build kind of towards the back, avoiding this space that we put more of that pumpkin-y shade Day. Yeah, I like that. I love Duo Fiber brushes too because they will buff without really disturbing, but also you can do tapping and it really blends out nicely that way as well. Yeah, I like that. I do think I want to build up a little bit underneath here with more of that flare shade, which is that brown that we used as our bronzer. Oh yes, I'm digging. And I want to top with a little bit of one of these shimmers, and I think it's going to be Rhea. I've got Rhea here, and this is Calypso. Let's do a little bit of Rhea. Just a tiny bit to add a little bit luminosity back to the cheeks, because I did set it down. That Future Skin Gel, though, is really good at kind of keeping a lot of hydration in the skin. So, I mean, it's basically a gel moisturizer with pigment. So I'm not super matte. I know you can tell from the lights, but ooh. Okay. Redeemed, so much redeemed. On the trip, I was like, oh, I'm so upset, but this is so much better. Okay, let's get started on the eyes then. So I'm going to pick up a nice blender brush that has been wiped off because I really need to wash my brushes, shock, and I'm gonna use a Refer 01, just kind of your typical goat hair blending brush. I'm gonna start with Flare again, that shade that we used as bronzer. And I'm going to buff that into the crease with windshield wiper motions in small circles. And I'm also going to bring that on the outer third here. And give me a nice kind of angled shape at the edge here. On my trip, granted, it was a hiking trip to Yellowstone, but where I was using makeup was to get ready for like dinner, which was hilarious. We need to just have a whole discussion about that. So I did get to use these as eyeshadow and on my face, and I've used it before that and as eyeshadow, and I do really like these formulas as eyeshadow. Very beautiful. Blend like a dream. I think we have a good start. I'm going to add just a touch more, leaving this inner corner bare. I'm going to go in now with a 32 brush from Refer. I really like this brush. It's very different. That's not a good idea. It's angled, but it's quite dense, but it fits so well. This would be a really good concealer brush probably too, but I love how it fits to get the inner corner in the eye, and I'm gonna go ahead and brighten up that inner corner with this dust shade. I really like this inner corner shade. It's not going to be super stark, especially if you're a little bit darker skin tone than me, but it is still, as you can see, brightening for someone as pale as me, which I always appreciate when there's that option in a palette. And I'm actually going to take a little bit of that and go ahead and hit my brow bone. And then I'm going to start kind of blending into that outer third, just so there's no harsh line. But what I'm going to use the same brush for is I'm going to take that Rhea and we're going to really pack that on the lid for some nice pumpkin-y. It's like pumpkin with a little bit of pink and mauve. This is like perfect this palette, if you don't want to fully dive into like a pumpkin look and you want it to be more muted and subtle, and you kind of live in that almost pillow talk light pink moment. This is an excellent palette for that. So here's where we're at so far. And you know, we got to bring the smoke. I love a good smoky eye. So I'm going to take a Refer 13, which is just a small pencil brush. This one is longer and flexible, but any pencil brush will do. And I want to start out with Zenith to build some of this rust color into the look. And I'm going to do what I always do, which is start along the lash line, flick, and build that outer V. Just to add some of that rust shade, which is very, very pretty. especially against that Rhea. It really brings out some of the red and pink tones in Rhea. Very pretty. And then to amp it up even more, I'm going to grab Crater, which is the deepest shade in this palette, and it is a nice chocolate brown. And I'm going to first stamp that along the lash line and kind of follow what I did with the red, but keeping it smaller. I'm feeling very fall. Okay. And then for good measure, going back into my 01 from Refer, that first blending brush, grabbing Flare, that lighter matte brown, and just going over edges just to make sure everything is smooth. I do want to dip in to the Shimmer Saga, and I think our best bet's going to be Success right here. And I'm going to take my finger and we're just going to tap on the lid a little bit here. I'm going to keep it to kind of this inner portion and just tap a little bit there. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So pretty. So very pretty. It has a nice gold shift. Very pretty. So adding a little bit of gold back in there. All right, and now I think it's time to move into pencils, which we have so many options of. I grabbed a few different browns, a green, and then a white, and I have the black somewhere, but I want to keep it kind of soft. I do want to use the white in my waterline just to test that. Look how easy it goes on the waterline. That's the ultimate test to me because it is kind of, I'm not drying my waterline in order to put an eyeliner there. This is very white. Now we'll compare it in when we get into the swatches to like a brightening pencil. So the two browns that I'm trying to decide between is Aueva and Whipple. Whipple is a chocolatey brown with some warmth, and it has like amber shimmers. And then Aueva has a little bit more coolness or gray. So Aueva is here on the bottom and Whipple's on the top. I think we're gonna go with Whipple. And I'm just going to use that to tightline and add a little line on my upper lash. Again, goes on so easy to the waterline and tightline. And then I'm going to use the pencil and create some volume at the base of my lashes here. It is such a pretty color, and I am going to flick that out and follow the shape of the eyeliner we had there. Now I do want to go back in with the pencil brush I used. I'm going to wipe whatever excess powder's on there, and I'm just going to diffuse that eyeliner so there's no harsh edge. And I like it. I love it. I love it. So actually, now that we've reached this point, I'm very happy with this. I think what I would like to do is I'm going to go pop on some mascara, which is going to be the L'Oreal Voluminous Brown Balm Mascara. And then we will come back and do some swatches of these palettes and pencils, and then we'll jump into lips and I will swatch all of those on my lips for you. All right, let's jump into some swatches of pencils, and we're going to do some comparisons as well. All right, so from LH Cosmetics, we have Zhao, which is almost like a silver gray gold. Very, very pretty. Just a touch of gold in there. Then we have Whipple, which is what's on my eyes now, which is a nice chocolate brown with amber. Then we have, I thought that was wrong. So here we have Aueva, which you can see next to Whipple, is lighter. It still has that amber to it, but it's lighter with almost a touch of gray, very muted brown. And then lastly, we have Ascella, which is a green, but again, very kind of gray and muted and leaning on the cool side of things. Very, very pretty, but those are all of the LH pencils that I have, minus the white, which let's add that to the end here. And also black, but it's black. So there is that white, which is... So let's do some comparisons to Victoria Beckham because we'll get there in formula in just a minute. All right, so underneath here I have the Victoria Beckham eyeliner. So just to give you an idea, this is the Instant Eye Bright pencil next to the white. So this is still very brightening even on my pale skin. So this is going to be very white. I still love it in the waterline, but this adds a little bit of brightness without being as stark. So keep that in mind. Then I have Olive from Victoria Beckham. You'll see it even brings out kind of like the cool gray of this from LH Cosmetics, and it shifts a very beautiful green, but it has so much deepness that it still adds a lot of definition to the lash line when you don't blend it out, but then when you do blend it out, you get a little bit more of that green, if you can see at the base there. Then we have Cocoa underneath Aueva. So you can see Cocoa is much more of like a green gold. Then Aueva has a lot of coolness and still some of that amber to it, which is lighter. And you'll see even the Cocoa compared to the Whipple. Whipple is deeper and more red. And then here's Cocoa, which is showing up dang near black, which it pretty much is, but let's blend that out so you can kind of see. It's a very deep chocolate brown, so much deeper than Whipple and does not have any shimmer like Whipple does. But there, in case you were like me and you were very interested in some comparisons, that is where it ends kind of color-wise. I will say formula-wise, the Victoria Beckham feels a little bit thicker. Like you can feel it gliding on, you can feel it buffing out, and it stays movable for longer for that reason. But they are both super smooth and they both are almost industrial. Like it's going to take a lot to get them off. I'll show you here. I have a reusable cotton round with micellar water. If you swipe these, you're going to lose very little pigment, especially if you let them set down. I did not let Victoria Beckham set down, but just to show you, like, you really have to work both of these formulas to get them to go. So I would say if the Victoria Beckham colors that I showed you are, you know, tempting, but there's something slightly off about the color, or you already own the Victoria Beckham, I will say this: the colors are different enough that I'm happy to have all of them. When it comes to performance, I think they both perform beautifully. They go on easy, they're easy to blend, they last and last even through multiple cotton rounds with micellar water. So they're not going to budge on you. I think they're very comparable in that sense. And also, to get into these even further, let's take a look at the price online. I want to say they're $18. Yes, so these are $18 compared to Victoria Beckham's $24. So there's a reasonable amount of savings there. But also to note that you can get kits. One of these I believe I bought is a kit, and also what we'll get into a little bit later is that Linda Hallberg has sales going on her site very regularly. So if you are very interested in some of these, if you can hold out, I promise you that it's going to go on sale eventually. So I would wait for that. But now let's jump into swatching this beautiful Infinity Glam palette. All right, so the Infinity Glam palette comes in at $49. You do get a decent amount of product. It is 19.2 grams of product, and the pans again are a very large size. It's going to take a while for anyone really to go through this unless you are a makeup artist. I also love that they are a very nice size if you want to use them on the face, but they're not so oversized that this is cumbersome to travel with. This was great to travel with. It fit right into a small cosmetics bag for me. So I have swatched these on my arm here. So the top is that crater shade. It's a very nice chocolatey brown. It's almost like a mid to deep. It's not a super deep shade, which I really like because it's enough to deepen looks, but I think if you're very deep skin tone, you might want to look at, I believe she has a deep version. Yep, Infinity Deep. So for someone like me, I appreciate that it's deep enough to smoke, but it's not black. Then we have Flare, which is a very nice, it's warm, but it's not too warm to the point where I can't wear it as bronzer. It's a very nice mid-tone chocolate, beautiful for the crease. Then we have Day, which is that first shade that I put on my cheeks. This is a very wearable pumpkin leaning melon with a slight pinkness to it. A beautiful color for fall. And then we have Zenith, which is that rusty color that has a decent amount of brown to it, but is rust red nonetheless. Then next to that, I have Calypso, which is the lightest. And I should say, those first four are all matte, and they are true mattes. No satin to be found. Then we have Calypso, which is this light pink shade here. There we go. And it is a pink that shifts a little bit. It has like a pink violet shift to it, but it's not a duochrome, so it's not going to be unwearable, very wearable. I love that as kind of a blush topper on myself. Then down from that, we have Comet, which is like the shimmer version of that Day shade, but a little bit more yellow orange, and it has a nice, beautiful gold shift to it. And then we have Rhea underneath that, which is beautiful as a blush topper, and it is kind of like a pinker, more muted sister to that Comet color. That is what we put all over the eyes and blushed and topped my blush with, excuse me. I really love that. And then lastly, we have Dust, which is that beige gold color that we used in the inner corner, which you can barely see on my skin tone. See if a finger swatch will give you a better idea. There we go. It is a nice neutral beige with a champagne gold to it. It's not going to read super duper gold. It has slight pinkness to it, but just enough so that it's beige, which is why it was not showing up on my skin tone. But I love this as a fall palette, or if you're someone who's muted and warm, I think that this is an outstanding neutrals palette for you. It's going to look so beautiful. Very flattering on my neutral green to yellow undertone neutral. Very, very happy with that palette. I had some concerns, but what I will say, if you are going to spend the money on that palette, now granted, there are a lot of palettes out there that are the same, if not more expensive, and you get less product. I will say, if you're using this as just an eyeshadow palette, I absolutely love it. It's a very, very pretty. It's a very easy formula to work with. It's not too dusty. It's not too pigmented. It's also not too buildable. So I think it's right down the middle of the road in terms of pigmentation. So if you're someone who really likes to build up color, you can easily achieve it. But it's not so buildable that you don't see it going on. You're going to see it. It's pigmented. It's a little bit more pigmented than like the Hin Dash. I will say, I think if you're going for a multi-use palette, while I prefer circular pans like this, I think Hin Dash is more of like a smoothing, blurring formula than this. Granted, he doesn't have the shimmers like these 4 shimmers in the top. I do like that they're included because from an eyeshadow standpoint, it makes sense, but also from a face standpoint, I don't like to be super matte, and these 4 powders down here are indeed matte. So I like to bring a little bit of the sheen back with these, and they're so wearable on the cheek. They're not going to add a duochrome shift to your cheek if that's not what you're looking for. So I do really like this. I think she has the Infinity palette, which is not Infinity Glam, but that kind of leads more into the Hindash, and I would choose Hindash over that palette. However, the nuance of these colors, especially for someone who is muted, I absolutely love. And I apologize, she does not have a deep version of the Glam palette, but she does have an Infinity Deep palette, and I think that you could get some of those rusty pumpkin-y looks out of that palette, whereas the normal Infinity palette, or just the Infinity palette, has pinks more so than the rusties. So overall, I do really like this. I will say, if you're going to use it on your face, make sure that it's been set down so that it doesn't have anything to grab to, and I would go in with something where you can kind of like swirl and buff, because it is a matte powder if you're using the mattes. So with the shimmer, you have a little bit more leeway, but definitely be setting down your base products first. That said, I will swatch the Shimmer Saga. I have no negatives to say about this other than this is $42, which is no joke, but if you're buying duochromes, multi-chromes from indie brands, that price is not, you know, anything new to you. I do think that I probably have dupes of some of these shades in my collection. Just looking at these off the bat, I have one that's kind of screaming out in particular. So if I go down the line here, this first one on the top is Success, which is what we tapped all over the lids. So you see it has a gold reflect to it. And I would say, while these do have extra dimension to them, they're not, these are more so toppers to me than like a multi-chrome. They might be a duochrome, but they're more so like a topper duochrome. But even saying that, I don't know, I guess they're a duochrome because you have like a silver shift yellow gold there. The second one is Love, which is a pink shift kind of turquoise and purple. I don't even think I would call these duochromes. These are sheer toppers to add to any makeup. Do you know what I think these are? These are multifaceted glitter toppers to me. They're not duochromes. They're not shifting fully to another color, if that's what you thought, but they do have a very pretty shift. But they all kind of just shift glittery, you know? Maybe you could argue turquoise. The next one here is Crush, which I originally thought was going to be very green, and there is green and blue in it, but it almost has a base very similar to Unexpected from JD Glow, which is absolutely gorgeous over top of a brown eyeshadow look, because it has that brown, and then it kind of shifts into like that bright blue turquoise. I guess these are duochromes. I don't know. It's hard to say once you go from brands like JD Glow, especially Terra Moons, that like you see all of the shifts, you know, and Kaleidos, who I have coming up on my channel. So it's not that level of wapow shift, but they're stunning. And I have a very specific eye look I want to try with this. The last one here is Passion. And maybe that's the one I was thinking was going to be more green, but in the pan it looks more blue, and it is kind of like a steely gray blue with some purple, if you see that flash there. Absolutely stunning. This is going to be what I'm going to use for an upcoming opal eye. I think these colors, especially once you kind of mix them all together, is what I was wishing that opal shade would be. Just absolutely stunning all mixed together, but I hope that that helps you. I know I went back and forth on if these are duochromes, but like I said, it's hard to compete with duochromes from indie brands. They're killing it, and these are on the same kind of price point as that, but these are more so toppers than like a wabam, thank you ma'am, one and done duochrome. That said, that has swatched all of the eye and face products. Let's get into some lip swatches, because I'm very excited about the two formulas that I grabbed. All right, so first things first, for $18, I did pick up the LA Cosmetics lip pencil in Mellow Mauve, which I've really been loving. It is practically the color of my lips, almost exactly, maybe a touch darker, which is everything I could want in a lip pencil. And I will line my lips for the first one just to show you that product. I really love this. It's just as kind of creamy as the eye pencils, which makes sense because they are multi-use, but I grabbed 3 lip products, and 2 of them are the Fantastic, which I know she loves to use as blush, and we might actually add a little bit of blush of this second one. Add it as a little bit of blush with the second one. But the first one I want to show you is Garnet, which is looks very intimidating and is a very deep berry. But what's great about these is they're slightly sheer. Oh, the color of fall, right? So let's give that one a go. And I will say, these are very comfortable. They are moisturizing, but they feel more like a traditional lipstick than like a moisturizing balm. But that color is so nice for fall. It's not what I'm envisioning for this look, but if you watched my last video where we looked at berry lip shades, this is going to fall very much so on the purple side of things. It is not a red, it is like a wine purple. Absolutely stunning. And then the next one that I want to add which is her Latex Fever Liquid Lipstick, which again, I wanted to get in a shade, a very statement-y shade, and it's going to give you a very good example of how purple the shade Garnet that I have on is. So this is the shade Red Latex. Stunning, but you can see just how purple that Garnet shade is next to it. So I'm going to take this off. I will show you this because this formula, I feel like this formula is kind of like a little less exciting and innovative. This formula, however, I cannot wait to share with you. All right, so I do want to pull this up on the website because I am so curious. So the Latex Fever liquid lipsticks are $28 a piece. I love this gold, like the sound. It's very textured, but it doesn't leave glitter everywhere, which I appreciate. So this says it's the ultimate combination of the boldest color and wet looking gloss. Award-winning Latex Fever is a true innovative biphasic formula that has super intense payoff and mirror-like finish. It's comfortable, it sets, and it stays intense and brilliant. Use on lips, cheeks, and eyelids. So she also says that if you think less is more, just apply a small amount, dab with your finger, a sheer tinted lip gloss, apply a small amount on your cheeks and dab with a sponge for a beautiful blush, or apply on your eyelids for a shiny, wet looking eyeshadow. This would be a really cool editorial kind of like monochromatic look to wear all over in that manner. But it says, make sure you stir the applicator in the bottle before applying the Latex Fever, then blend the oil and pigments with the applicator to create that fierce, high shine, high pigmented look. I feel like this was a predecessor to all of the things we're seeing now with Haus Labs, Maybelline, Urban Decay, where you shake it almost like lip sense and it stays shiny, but it stays all day. This one doesn't claim to like shake it up and it's going to stay all day and not transfer, but let's get this on. I didn't line my lips, don't come for me, but it's a nice flat paddle applicator. Makes it really nice to get precise, although I would recommend a lip liner with this. But the way this feels is wild because it is so shiny. I'm gonna let it dry a little bit, but it doesn't feel like it's gonna go everywhere. Now, obviously, if you're eating or drinking and you don't let it set, it's going to go everywhere. But it is such a classic red and it is so shiny that even doing a lip liner and doing this on the center of the lips would be so gorgeous. But this is what's wild about it. There's barely anything. Like this to me is what those other brands are trying to do. And hers is so less complicated. It's not shaking it to high heavens. It's not waiting 5 minutes for it to dry. You saw that. I applied it 2 seconds later. There's hardly any transfer. Now there's a little bit, hardly any. And this is shinier than the Maybelline and shinier than the Haus Labs. I tried the Haus Labs. I absolutely hated it. That's why you didn't see it on my channel. This, heck yeah. I hope that eventually there are more shades of this. Right now it comes in wine, which is similar to that Garnet shade we just showed, the red that I have on now, and then Dusty Pink. This was the standout product for me, which we'll do a roundup at the end, but I can't say enough good things about it. It's a beautiful red that's not going to smear all over your face. What else could we ask for? You know, $28. is not cheap, but if I had to put my bets on a red that I could get through an event without drying my lips out and staying in place, this is the one. So let's dive back into the Fantastic with the color that I would like to wear today, and we'll go through all of those claims as well. Trying to delicately remove a red is a challenge. All right, let's pull up this Fantastic. So I showed you Garnet a little bit ago. These are $23. It is a nice slim bullet lipstick. Again, she says to use this on the lips and cheeks. It comes in 10 different shades. A lot of these seem very nuanced and beautiful as well. And this is also a Swedish Beauty Awards winner, which the same as that liquid latex lip. It says sheer and moisturizing formula will hydrate lips without feeling sticky or dry, making them comfortable to wear all day and super easy to apply. With SPF 15, it also provides daily protection to your lips. This is why I pulled the website up, because I forgot that it's SPF 15. Who doesn't love that? So this next shade that I want to show you is Cultured, which I was really hoping could be my new pumpkin, but it's more of a pinky corally pumpkin, so it's not quite that faded clementine that I'm looking for, but I think that it's going to go well with this look. Very moisturizing. Now that I know there's SPF 15, that I'm reminded of that. So comfortable. There's no scent. There's no scent to the liquid latex as well. It is very moisturizing. It feels very comfortable. I've kind of really disturbed my makeup with that red lip, so I hope that this is coming through, but I love it. It is kind of that pumpkin-y color, but if you like more pinks, I think that this might be a better fit for you than the faded clementine. And I'm actually going to dab a little bit here on the apple of my cheek and just dab out with my finger just to add a little bit of that color. My husband's being so loud today. Pray for me. Yeah, that kind of marries the color schemes together. And on the cheeks, I mean, it's not going to set down. I added a very little amount, but it's not sticky to the point where my hair is going to stick into it. I really like this, especially if you find a color that really jives with you. The color I dye, self-explanatory. It is this gorgeous, bright pink, but there's like a little coral to it, but it's not too warm. Online it looks beautiful. There are other shades of this that I would definitely be interested in. And actually, now that I think about it, I'm curious if Extra might do a similar thing. The shade Extra, it looks like it's sheer with shimmer. If it would be similar to Décolleté, I don't think that it's going to add the beiginess that I love though. So I'm going to stop rambling. You can tell it's been a while since I filmed. Let's run through the products and if I think they are worth your hard-earned coin or not. All right, let's go from most exciting to least exciting. I will say the thing that I think is most worth it, in my opinion, are the liquid latex lips. This is everything that Urban Decay, Maybelline, and Haus Labs wish they could do. And it is a very innovative formula. I've never tried anything like it. I play around a lot with testing new formulas for lips, and I can't get over this. I do hope she expands the shade range, but I really want that nude color because I think that could be an everyday practical lip that's not going to migrate all over the place or transfer all over everyone or thing, you know. I think then the second most exciting is the pencils for me. Love Mellow Mauve as a lip liner. It's a perfect match for what I'm looking for when I just want it to be my lips, but better. And then these eyeliners are absolutely incredible, and some of the colors are so nuanced and beautiful, and I don't think that you have to necessarily choose between the two, especially now that Victoria Beckham continues to expand her color lines. I don't think that any of them are dead ringers to each other and each kind of have their own qualities in terms of color. I personally still prefer the Victoria Beckham formula, but I really like this formula as well, and I will absolutely be using these guys all the way up. You know, they're a fantastic formula, and for $18, very, very happy about that. I think coming in third for me is going to be the Fantastic. I mean, SPF 15, they don't taste like anything. They don't smell like anything. They're moisturizing. They come in beautiful colors. Yes, they are $23, but again, she always is running sales every once in a while up to like 25% off or more. She also does warehouse sales where something might be slightly damaged and you get it for half off. So keep an eye out for those. But I do really like these. As someone who I've said again and again is not a traditional lipstick lover, I would absolutely reach for these. And the Garnet shade's not exactly what I was hoping for, but it's beautiful. I love this Culture shade, and I don't have anything else like it in my arsenal. And I think it can flex fall to spring, you know? And then I think in last place is going to be the powder palettes. Here's what I think I land. The colors are beautifully nuanced and fabulous, but it's not my very favorite eyeshadow formula. I think it's kind of like a typical eyeshadow formula. And while yes, you can use it on the face, it's not my preferred finish on my face, although I do feel very beautiful and finished today. By no means am I saying this is not worth it and it's not a good product. It's an absolute phenomenal product, and I do think if you can get it on sale, it is worth it, but I wouldn't go out of my way to purchase this exact palette because I prefer the blush formulas that I have and some of the other eyeshadow formulas like the Hen Dash, like the Anastasia, and then for special shades, I much prefer the Terra Moons. They're just top of the line to me, and JD Glow. Those are two brands that are just going to be really hard to beat. I'm very curious if Kaleidos will stand up to those brands as well. But it's absolutely gorgeous. I do think that I personally want more Whipple, so I will go to the indie brands for those multi-chromes. If you're someone who just wants a glitter topper that adds a little bit of color and glitter to the eye, as you can see, you guys have seen duochromes on my channel. It's nothing super crazy, so I like it. I'm glad I have it, but I wouldn't go out of my way to purchase these. I would go out of my way to experience some of the formulas in the lip products that she has, and the eye pencils and lip pencils are just great. So I hope this has been helpful. I'm sorry for all of the chaos. You can tell it's been a while since I have filmed, and I should have told my husband not to shower in the shower that shares a wall that I'm filming on. So I hope you made it through. I hope this was helpful. I also hope you're having a fantastic week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.